Once upon a time, there was a king who had a marvelous kingdom. Serving this king were many different knights. The knights, of course, had many interests. Some liked chasing dragons, some liked chasing knights from other kingdoms, and some liked chasing fair damsels. But all had one interest in common. They were all interested in having the marvelous kingdom when the old king died. Or maybe even before he died. The old king realized this and decided to teach them a lesson. He called all his knights together and said, I will have a contest. The winner of my contest can have my marvelous kingdom at once. Of course, all the knights were very excited. Each one was sure he could win any contest that the king proposed, whether it was a contest with swords, or with bows and arrows, or with maces. But the king said, it will not be an ordinary contest with swords, or with bows and arrows, or with maces.
But what other contest can there be?
There can and will be, said the king. A thinking contest.
Ooh.
With that, all the knights felt less confident, except for Sir Lackhoof, who wasn't very good with swords, or with bows and arrows, or with maces. All right, said the king. What is the next number after 7?
8,
chorused all the knights. What's the next number after 10? The king asked.
11,
And after 25?
26,
And after 103?
104,
And after 1,300,058?
1,300,059.
Ah, after 1/3.
Oh.
The knights paused. Well, said one, 1/3 is between 0 and 1. So 1 is the next number. 1 is the next whole number, said the king. But isn't there a rational number closer to 1/3? Of course, said a second knight. 2/3 is closer to 1/3 than 1 is. Surely 2/3 is the number after 1/3. Wait, cried Sir Lackhoof. 1/2 is between 1/3 and 2/3. 1/2 is the next number after 1/3. No, said the king. There's a number which is closer to 1/3 than 1/2 is. In fact, I can think of several right now, but I want you to find the closest to 1/3, just as 2 is the very next whole number after 1. Find me the next rational number after 1/3. Then you shall have my marvelous kingdom. Well, all the knights ran to their horses and rode off to the furthest corners of the marvelous kingdom to search for the number after 1/3. That is, all except Sir Lackhoof. He didn't have a horse, so he couldn't ride anywhere. Instead, he wandered off to his old schoolroom because that was the last place he could remember hearing about such matters as 1/3. He drew a number line, but he couldn't think of any number between 1/3 and 1/2. Then he remembered that it usually helped in such cases to rename the numbers with fractions that had the same bottom number. That is, to find a common denominator for the two numbers. 2/6 and 3/6, he thought. What can be between them? He measured off the unit segment into 6 and marked a point between 2/6 and 3/6. Now, how can I find a number for that point, he thought. Let's see. I want to split each of the 1/6 in half. Of course. Then I will have 2 times 6, or 12 parts. So this is 1/12, 2/12, 3/12, 4/12, 5/12. It's 5/12. 5/12 is between 1/3 and 1/2. So 5/12 must be the next number after 1/3. He dashed out of the schoolroom and towards the palace. As he ran, one of the other knights rode in before him. The other knight shouted, "I found it! I found it! It's 3/8. No!" shouted Sir Lackhoof. It's 5/12. Well, said the old king, 3/8 is closer to 1/3 than 5/12 is. But 3/8 still isn't the closest number. There is a number that is even closer to 1/3. Try again. Sir Lackhoof returned to his schoolroom. He marked the unit segments into 8ths and then into 3rds. He could find a point between 1/3 and 3/8, but what could he call that point? The picture was just too confusing. He decided to find a common denominator again. Three times 3 over 8 times 3 is 9/24, 9/24. 1 times 8 over 3 times 8 is 8/24. All right, he thought. I must find a number between 9/24 and 8/24. Why, I can do what I did before. First, I'll mark the segments into 24 parts. I'll split each part in half. Then I'll have 48 pieces in one unit. Then 8/24 will be 8 times 2 or 16/48. And 9/24 will be 9 times 2 or 18/48. Then 17/48 is between them. Now wait a minute, he thought. Why can't I always do this? Why can't I always find a number between any two rational numbers? Yes, all I have to do is to find a common denominator. That tells me how to split up the unit segment. The common denominator is just the number of parts I should split the unit segment into. Then if no split mark comes between the two numbers, I can just split each of the parts in half. Then there will have to be a mark between the two numbers. That will give me a name for the in-between number. Oh. But if I can always find a number between any two rational numbers, then 17/48 cannot be the closest number to 16/48. I can split each of the 48 parts in half again and find a number between 16/48 and 17/48. But then I can split the parts some more. Is there no end? Oh! Has the king been trying to play a trick on us? He has! If I can find a number between any two rational numbers, there can never be a next number after 1/3. And any time I think I have the next number after 1/3, I can always find a new number between that number and 1/3. Sir Lackhoof rushed off to tell the king that he knew there was no next number. Meanwhile, the other knights continued their search. The king was quite pleased with Sir Lackhoof. He said, "Since you did not find a next number after 1/3, you cannot have the marvelous kingdom at once. But since you found that there can be no next number, you may have my kingdom when I die." When the others heard that Sir Lackhoof had won the contest, they returned to the palace. They looked so disappointed that Sir Lackhoof proposed another contest. "When I have the marvelous kingdom," he said, "I will give it to the first knight who gives me a list of all the numbers between 1/3 and 1/2. At that, the king smiled.